Hey guys, ZomFox here, and today it's time for the final regular season game picks video. Now, while we'll still be doing them for the playoffs, this is the last regular season week, which is wild to think about that we're already done. But we have 4 more games to talk about for the regular season. None of them have really any major importance. Yes, technically both 1 seeds are still up for grabs, but again, we know what the home teams are. So let's just get right into it with the first pair of games with the Battlehawks Defenders Friday Night Football game and the Roughnecks Panthers Saturday game. I'm streaming both these 2 games. I believe I have everything fixed with all the stream issues. So we have those 2 streams, or games that I will be streaming. Battlehawks Defenders. The Defenders already announced that Mike DeLillo is going to start the game and pretty much play the whole thing. The Battlehawks, I don't know for sure what they're going to do yet. At least at the time recording this, I haven't seen exactly who they're starting. If it's going to be Silvers or Duggan, I wouldn't be shocked if Duggan plays for like a little bit. But we'll see. Overall, this is the last home game in DC for the season. DC probably is going to go out with a bang, have a pretty good crowd despite it being Friday Night Football. This game really doesn't matter too much. I think that even though St. Louis, like Anthony Beck may say, they want to actually earn home field advantage, I think we all know that they pretty much are going to phone it in to a degree in this game. I think it's still a close one, but I do think DC wins this 25-22. I don't think this is going to be a win that changes anything in the power rankings or anything. I think this is going to be a game where St. Louis maybe plays their starters for like a little bit, then rests them, and DC just ends up winning in a battle of backups. Right? I think the backups playing is actually going to lead to a slightly higher scoring game. I think both defenses are kind of gone. I mean, DC's defense, we already know how it's been all season, but I think St. Louis's defense, if some starters end up resting, is going to be a bit of a weaker unit than usual because of that, and DC just scores more points. What it comes down to is I think they want to give their home crowd a great send-off for the season. We had that really solid game a couple weeks ago that had like their best crowd of the season. I think this game might end up being better than that one. It's a rivalry game against St. Louis. Really big deal. I think they'll come out, support the team, they'll win. They have that extra motivation that they're going to get screwed over in the next round. So this is going to be that game to try and, say we really should have had home field advantage and try to build momentum in the playoff game against St. Louis. So I do think DC wins. Houston, Michigan. Another one where Michigan, this game matters a lot less considering they have to win this one and Birmingham has to lose for them to actually clinch the 1 seed. But for Michigan, they just announced like new tickets are available for this game. In theory, this should break their record, which, again, is a record they already broke 3 times for home attendance, which would be insane. If this game hits over 12K, my God. But it looks like it's going to be a really good attended game, this Saturday game. You have the Jake Bates bobblehead giveaway during it, which is really cool to have. Houston, they got their win last week. This game, it'll be interesting. Rocky Lombardi it's Nolan said he's going to play. How much time does he play? We'll see. Who starts? Hopefully Perkins plays for a couple of drives and then rests. I've seen some people call for him to play the whole game. I think it's a really bad idea risking his injury. You just want to make him, not rusty. Overall, though, I think in front of this huge crowd, I think Michigan wins, but it's a somewhat close 6-point game. 24-18, Michigan beats Houston. These 2 teams almost always play close games. They're always really solid games, or both teams are really in it for a while. Right? We know last year that, end of the season game, week 9, had, one of the best games of the season where Perkins made that great last drive comeback. COC Mariner made his big name for himself in that game. I think it's another one. Close game, but Michigan wins. I think that Houston, yes, they had a great win against DC, but as I said last week, or earlier this week, it was a game that Houston should have won. They're just a really bad matchup for DC. This case, I think that Michigan wins. I think it's a lower scoring game because of the fact we're going to see backups play that are like Rocky Lombardi. McClendon should start and play the whole game, so I wouldn't be shocked if Houston pulls off the upset. But in front of this huge home crowd for Michigan, they're going to want to get another great send-off for their team and for their home crowd, so Michigan does end up winning this 24-18. Now, the next pair of games on Sunday, we have the Renegades Brahmas and the Stallion Showboats. Renegades Brahmas. Almost going to stream this one because how funny it's going to be because, I know Prez is expected to start and a lot of people are not very happy about it. The Brahmas, nobody really cares who they start. Renegades are a minus 5.5 point favorite, which is pretty hilarious. This is a tough one to call. It really is, because for this kind of game in Week 10, you really have no idea what's going to happen. Last year, we saw Arlington and DC have a game that would end up being like the 2 we had this year, which was a very high-scoring, random game in Week 10. I kind of expect something similar. I think San Antonio gets the upset. In front of their home crowd, they want to give a nice send-off to their home crowd that has been a really solid crowd turnout. If this game matches the last 2 with that 9K mark, that'll be very impressive considering how bad this team is. And you're going to want to give them at least something. Win the regular season finale against the Renegades. Truly just put the nail in the coffin of the Renegades being that really poor team of, blowing close games like I predict they will in this one. Hence why I have it being 28-25. As well as continuing to make it to where the Brahmas do break that record for worst point differential in this era of spring football, which would still arguably make them the worst team in spring football history despite having 2 wins over, let's say, the Maulers' 1 win, because this team would have, gotten blown out a lot. It'll be interesting to see, but I think San Antonio, their players understand that if they lose this game, they will be viewed as the worst team of the 5 seasons that fully played in spring football, and really, even if you count the AF and XFL in 2020, this team is currently the worst team of all time, worse than the Maulers in 2022. This team's been getting crushed multiple games of the season. Basically, when they don't play DC, they usually get blown out by like 20 plus. That's why they have like a minus 120 point differential. They want to go out with a win, higher scoring game, they get the W. Stallion Showboats, the last home game for the Showboats this season. Birmingham, again, they want to try and truly deserve that home field advantage. I wouldn't be too shocked if we see multiple quarterbacks playing this game. At the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if just Jamar plays. They're 6.5 points favorites. The over-under is 38.5, which I'm honestly shocked at. I think that should be a lot higher. I do think it hits the over. I think it's 30-20. The Birmingham Stallions win. Yeah, the trend I have is the home teams giving their crowd a big W. The Showboats, I think this ends up being that definitive, your season was objectively a failure. Look, for how bad the Brahmas were on the field, the Showboats have been an absolute failure and train wreck this whole season. The attendance numbers have been pitiful. The TV ratings for Memphis themselves have been unbelievably bad. I think that we all know that if a team gets relocated this offseason, it's probably Memphis, them and Houston, but at least Houston has an argument. Again, I'll talk about that more in an offseason video, or depending on what announcement comes to the championship game that we saw in the James Larson article. Point is, I'll talk about that later. I think this would be a very fitting end for the season. And again, you don't know what's going to happen, but potential end for the Showboats. A 30-20 blowout, Birmingham beating them, would just be kind of fitting way to end it in front of a home crowd. Look, they got to have like over 5,000-ish people or like 4,500 to break off that like 4K average. Like their average attendance this season, if you double it, it's still like 1,000 worse than the Brahmas' worst home game, which is inexcusable considering how bad the Brahmas are. So that idea of, if the team is good, they'll be different, not really true there. I think it's a fitting way to end the season with the Stallions just beating the Showboats. Higher scoring game, 50-point game, but the Stallions win. Now, overall record. This past week was the best week of the season, one of the best overall. I was perfect 3 for 3 in the St. Louis-San Antonio game. I got all 3 things right. Didn't get a perfect team score, but again, we got that, so we matched last year's total of perfect game betting predictions. But more importantly, I went 2 of 3 in all the other 3 games, including going perfect on my actual picks. Went 4 for 4 on who I thought would win, as I did predict the Houston upset over DC. Got that right in the other ones. Over-under, I went like 3-1, I went like 3-1 in the spread and 2-2 in the over-under. So again, not like usual, but I ended up having a better spread so far this season than Moneyline. In fact, the only way my spread ends up being worse is if I get all 3 of the next, or if I get pretty much this week really wrong, all that. Overall, though, for the season, looking a lot better than it started. It started off pretty rough, but the last couple of weeks I've seen a lot more of a bounce back, right? We had that week like 2 weeks ago where we had the multiple perfect teams score and perfect games, right? We had this past week where I went 2 of 3 on 3 games, 3-1. We'll see if I can continue that trend. Again, these are my game picks mixed in with the betting odds. So if you do bet at your own risk. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I upload any videos. Think about becoming a community member for as low as 99 cents a month. You get an exclusive channel video every month, as well as team emojis that you can use in the comment section and during live streams. There's a few other benefits. And as always, guys, have a great night.